was able to manage to deal with great issues and aggressions in the 12th day in June. And in spite of the martyrs from the high officials in the Revolutionary Guard and the army and also the scholars, the scientific scholars, in terms of trying to put down the Iranian will and impose their political agenda, the Americans, they could not really, because the leader, he is so wise and brave in order to challenge this situation, and in 24 hours he could manage to bring back the order and the confrontation, and also to attack Tel Aviv, the capital of the occupation in Palestine, and also until the situation that inside Palestine, inside this enemy, was really bad, and Netanyahu asked Trump to ask for a ceasefire. And I guess this leader was one of the historical leaders in Iran, like Imam Khomeini, may peace be upon his soul. They led Iran and the region, I would say, to the righteous way of a state, of an independent state, would not give up or would not surrender to the West and to the Americans because of the nature of the regime, that it's according to the values of the Iranian people and to the historical march towards building a state, not collaborating with the West and not executing its agenda. So the leader and the people, they have this kind of spirit, that's common spirit. That's their religion, I would say, religion in terms of building a state, in terms of building a civilization, in terms of building a society that's a united society. That's something on the high structure of the state and the doctrine. On the infrastructure down, I guess Iran achieved a lot in spite of these sanctions and sabotaging all the trying from the West to eradicate or to kill this scientific spirit. Iran has these two dimensions. The scientific dimensions, that's of the great mind of the Iranians. Historically, we are talking. And now about building a state. And one of the questions the West is asking, how could clerks or religious men build such state based on science and based on civilization and civil way of thinking? And the people go to vote in terms of democracy. If we compare the two democracies in Iran and the West, Iran is still the most successful democracy in the whole world, and the leader is protecting and encouraging and working according to this democracy. They vote. They have probably many votes from the municipalities to the government, and protected by the regime, protected by the Constitution. Unlike the United States, when Trump invaded the Congress by his gangs. So you see here, if the people understand outside Iran, we are talking. If we talk about inside Iran, I guess most of the people, the majority of the Iranians, are embracing this regime, because this regime, they are this regime. They are not embracing something strange, something foreign. No, they are embracing their doctrines, their way of life, their way of thinking, and their way of piety and religious practices. So all this, the West and some of the West intellectuals and the politicians, of course, they can't understand what's Iran about. Its culture, its religion, the practices, and the prayers, the all and the shrines inside Iran. I guess they have to learn how people defend their existence, their being in life, their being in this world, and their being in creating a new civilization, a new way of life, I guess.
Right, Dr. Saleh, we are continuing with the live and trolling coverage of the demonstrations held around Iran in support of the members of the security forces and the national unity of Iran. At the same time, these are burial ceremonies, as you can see in the city of Rasht right now. Coffins of, this is a very small one, this must be a child killed during the protest and the riots. And you can see these are people saying farewell and goodbye to their countrymen, to the ladies, to the children, and to the men who have lost their lives during the past 2 weeks' events, brutal events we've been witnessing in different parts of the country. As the Ministry of Foreign Affairs just mentioned, the situation seems to be under full control right now. And we still, because of the internet being cut off for nearly 5 days, we still do not know the exact number of the people who have lost their lives and during these incidents in the past 2 weeks. But it's good news that the Foreign Minister is saying that the situation is now under control. So you can see these mass funerals for members of the security forces who were martyred in recent foreign-backed riots in the country. Well, Dr. Saleh, in the words of in your words, in the words of the Iran's leader and also the foreign minister earlier, one thing is very common. Everything started with legitimate constitutional protest of Iranian businessmen, shopkeepers, and then turned into violence, and the armed terrorists got involved and penetrated the lines of people peacefully protesting. What can be done to prevent anything like this happen again in the future?
Well, in any country, and the Islamic countries, especially Iran, is not exception. Is not an exception in this case. People has the right to demonstrate, but not to transfer this demonstration into chaos, into violence, into trying to damage or ruin the order. The order, I mean, the way people live, the way people, according to what values and what political situation in the country. Now in Iran, I guess, well, the Americans declared, the Shah's son declared, and the Zionists declared statements that they are they want to intervene. They are intervening actually inside Iran, and they are encouraging these violence makers inside Tehran or Rasht or Kermanshah or even in Mashhad, even in Qom, even in many places, in order to inflame the situation, to tell the people that you are against the regime. Demonstrations usually they go march in the street in order to express their objection about certain issues, economic issues, freedom of speech, not to change the regime. Well, now the Americans and the Zionists, they want to transfer, they want to make this, they want to try to tell people that you are about and you want to change the regime. That's a big thing. And they express that. The Zionists, Netanyahu, and Trump, and Mike Pompeo, and others in the White House and in the American administration. I think because of this solidarity inside Iran between people and the government, they have prevented these conspiracies against the regime, the way of thinking. As we were saying, well, people have the right to demonstrate, but these demonstrations to be anti the government, anti themselves, now these people responded in telling the Americans and the Israelis, no, not to change the regime, not to kill these civilians, not to kill the security men, not to put on fire all these stores and places and buildings and the administration buildings inside Iran. So we have this not balanced. We have now the people is the people's inside the cities. I mean, in all these cities, expressing their way of thinking that no, you are taking us, the Americans and the Israelis, you are taking us to another place. But of course, these collaborators, these betrayals, these who assassinate these the martyrs, the security men, the civilians in all these cities, I guess they have made this right in order to tell people that no, we are going into another agenda. So we will see that the people in Iran, they know where to go and when to go into a demonstration in order to, as I said, to make the things better, to talk to the government and tell them, well, we should share opinions about the situation, the economic situation in some sectors. We are talking about sectors here, the economic and probably the salaries, about the currency, and about these are particular things inside Iran. Well, of course, it needs some kind of rapprochement between the government and the merchants and the employee, and we are talking about this kind of activities or reactions, or to react to a certain situation. Although we should keep in mind that all these economic problems, most of it resulted in two ways. The first wave, or the first way of thinking, is the American sanctions and trying to impose many things on Iran. And the other thing is probably you might find some people in the administration, in some sectors, that would do something against the will of the people and the way of thinking of and the interests of the people. And that's also another issue, what we call in the states corruption, or in some cases, in very individual cases. So you cannot talk about changing the situation radically. We can talk about changing one employee, one person, a minister probably, or a manager of the bank, or something like this. These are details in talking to the people, between the government negotiations, or between the people and but to make the situation intolerable for the peoples and cutting their way of life and their work and their jobs, and trying to reach a situation where you ask or to burn a picture or to do such things, that won't solve the issue, the problem. But when you find intervention from these Western and American and the Zionists and some other probably regimes in the region, when you find this, you have to stand still, to shout against them, and to tell them you don't have the right, and to be prepared for all the battles coming, whether the politically, diplomatic, and economic, and probably military, because Trump threatened Iran of military intervention. But I guess they have tried a lot from 1980 till now, till last 12 days of June. They have tried to intervene militarily, but they failed because of the solidarity among Iranians to protect their way, their path, and their pillars, and their way of thinking, and their way. I guess in terms of this issue, they are satisfied. But in terms of the some economic situation, probably we have to reevaluate the situation. Well, in terms of understanding what is going on, in terms of the economic situation. But I guess in terms of regime, in terms of the people in the administration in general, they are doing great job, I guess, especially the leader and many of the ministers. Probably you might find a minister that is not up to the job that he is carrying on, or probably appointed for. But that's not the issue. The issue is that we are talking about a great battle, a great battle in terms of the continuing the participation and the contribution in the international community. And this regime really has this merit, has this character of having great relationships with the people they meet, the people they attend in order to create this new understanding of Iran. That's great mentality ruling Iran. It's not uneasy in these circumstances. While the United States, this what so-called satanic superpower, doing all evil things to the world, while Iran is receiving with a great tranquility and peace. And when I read the statements from the leader, may God protect him. Well, I feel very comfortable and happy, because he is coping the situation. He is containing the situation and understanding. And he said, "Well, we let the enemy to his need." So that's great morale of the leader, and reflected on the mentality of the people in the streets. And I guess this leader is blessed and gifted from God by this understanding and awareness, and of course brave, courageous, all the good things. And of course I congratulate the Iranian people of this leader, who might and will create this great Iran, and this big Iran, civilized Iran. And of course, people all over the world, they admire how Iran is dealing with the issue, while other peoples, they don't admire their leaders or their presidents or their what so-called whatever, like what happened. Well, it's not trying to belittle what has happened in Venezuela, but I guess people, or probably the government and the acting president in Venezuela, should do more for releasing or for freeing Chavez, because he has done a lot for the Venezuelans to keep their independence. While look at the people in Iran, how they are protecting themselves by protecting their government and their way of life.
Right, Dr. Saleh, as we speak, our viewers watching live footage coming in from different cities, different and new locations. This is Iraq, where people are getting prepared to say prayers to the dead body of the martyrs of security. You can see that's a ritual, of course, before the burial ceremony takes place. So we are receiving new footage from different cities. We have footage from Ardabil in northwestern Iran. We have Iraq that you are witnessing. Four of them you're witnessing right now. We have footage from Birjan, Zahedan, also Sanandaj, which is a heavily Kurdish region, and all people from all walks of life come to the streets to express their support and solidarity with the cause of the Islamic Revolution and the country. While I'm really thankful for your time and your commentary, Dr. Saleh, Dr. Mohsen Saleh, political commentator and academic joining us from Beirut. I'm saying goodbye to you right now. Let us cross over to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, as Mr. Ismail Baghaei, the Foreign Ministry spokesperson, is having his weekly presser.
Of the Zionist regime attacking the Iranian land, so that we held our presser. Today we are mourning the dear lives that have been lost because of making the peaceful protests of our people violent. So today the Cabinet of Ministers, on the occasion of this sad event, and to also pay respect to those people who achieved martyrdom during the past few days of unrest. That's why the government has announced national mourning. Now, the reason for a delay in our press conference today was that the distinguished foreign minister, Araqchi, had a meeting with heads of envoys and ambassadors of attending Tehran, and you were there, and the introduction was just raised there in detail regarding what has actually happened in the past few days, and you were present there in that meeting. So given the fact that we started kind of late, so that's enough of introduction. I'm now at your service to answer your questions. Greetings to Mr. Baghaei, as you put it. Mr. Baghaei, as you also mentioned, there were some interventionist comments by Americans and Zionists in the past days, and in support of tension and riots inside Iran. This actually on top of the text that Mike Pompeo, former CIA director, or a cabinet member of the Zionist regime, posted online, and they stated expressly that the Mossad agents were kind of operating in Iran and leading the riots and managing everything. I wanted to ask about your stance and also the legal measures that should be taken in order to document these things and give them a proper response to the acts of the Zionists and Americans. Well, the stance is transparent. We should always bear in mind what has happened. There were peaceful union protests in the first 2-3 days. They started with that, and then it got properly responded to by the government and relevant bodies. Negotiations and talks and meetings were held, and attempts were made to reach out to those people who had complaints and address their issues. But in the second phase, all of a sudden, it started since Thursday, when we began to face a wave of resorting to firearms and cold arms among the protesters in different provinces. And that was concurrent with the interventionist statements of American and Zionist officials. So in similar incidents in our country or elsewhere, sometimes ambiguously, or sometimes they use other titles like democracy and human rights and the bad guys. This time, they openly said that we are there. And even you saw one of the former American officials that's still trying to, let's say, at the level of propaganda and media to play the role that he already played regarding antagonism against Iran people. He said that the New Year welcomed that to the people. We say Happy New Year to Iranian people and those Mossad agents who are standing alongside them on the streets. That's only one instance. There are interventionist comments by Americans and Zionist officials. They clearly followed one same goal, a basic goal, and that was creating and causing violence, chaos, and instability in our country. But they wanted to see a larger number of our people killed. So that's why I just told you that the press conference today is the same as the presser on the 26th of Khordad, because many believe that, in fact, what has happened in the past few days were they kind of resembled the 13th day of the criminal war the Zionist regime waged against our country. These actions are in violation of all humanitarian laws, and we realize, the Zionist regime Americans, they are not committed to humanitarian laws and international law. This is the basis for dialogue among world countries, and by attributing to the same principles and conventions, we should show that the interventionist actions of the Zionist regime in America, how far they have been improper and wicked, and on the global stage, all of these will be documented, and evidence that cannot be denied, a robust evidence regarding the presence of armed people and organized people among the ranks of the protesters, with the aim of getting the people targeted and the crimes that have been committed in attacking the different infrastructure, cultural centers, even health clinics. I mean, there's a building that is destroyed. I mean, a nurse, for instance, was burned alive. These are methods that we already faced elsewhere, committed by terrorists like Daesh terrorists, merciless armed elements. So all of these are being watched, and we're putting data together, and we'll publicize it, we'll let the people know, and also we'll document them and get them recorded.
سلام سخنگو وقت شما بخیر. روز گذشته رئیس جمهور
Yesterday,
آمریکا اعلام کرد
the
که
US president said
پیامی رو
that
برای گفتگو با جمهوری
he
اسلامی
has a
دریافت
message,
کرده.
he's received a message for
و در
dialogue
یک
with
صحبت
Iran,
مبهمی هم گفتش که
and
اقدامی رو
ambiguously
انجام
he
خواهد
said
داد
that
پیش
he
از
will
این
take action
مذاکرات.
before
سوال
the
من این هستش
dialogue.
که
Now,
آیا
my question
همچنان
is,
کانال ارتباطی
is
بین
there
ایران و
this
آمریکا
communication
وجود داره؟ اون
channel,
کانالی که
does
آقای
that
عراقچی
exist
گفته
with
بودن
Iran
که با
America?
آمریکا
Mr.
دارن.
Arakchi
آیا
said
اون
that
همچنان
he has a
برقراره؟
channel
و دوم که
with
آیا این
Mr.
صحبت در
Witkoff.
خصوص مسئله
And
مذاکره که رئیس جمهور
is
آمریکا گفته
he
صحت
referring, I
داره؟
mean, has he referred to the dialogue? Is that true? Well, like I already said, that conduit of communication between our foreign minister and U.S. President Special Envoy is open at any time necessary. Messages could be exchanged. In addition to the official channel that you know, that's the interest section of the United States, as you know, that's the Swiss Embassy in Tehran. Now, regarding what you said, well, yes, there were let's say, some issues, some points have been raised, and from the other side, they have had some opinions and offers, and we have said generally, we've always said that. Just this morning, the distinguished foreign minister announced that the Islamic Republic of Iran is basically a country that has never left the negotiating table. Throughout decades, we have always adhered to the principle of diplomacy, the principle of dialogue, but dialogue which is meaningful, a dialogue in which the sides care about the concerns of each other. It should not be one-sided, it should not be based on dictates. So I believe that in connection with this issue, there have been some contradictory statements and messages, and they simply cause ambiguity in our approaches. Al-Alam.
سلام علیکم. ببخشید من سوالم پایبند به سوال
If I could ask a follow-up with my colleague's question, Trump says that he's ready for negotiations on one hand, and on the other hand, Trump threatens an Israel president to say that tomorrow, Tuesday, Netanyahu is going to have a meeting for... well, like I said, these are contradictory comments. It shows lack of seriousness and goodwill, and definitely cannot be helpful. These days, given the circumstances, there are some rumors regarding a halt to consular activities in Tehran, be it for foreigners in Iran or Iranian expatriates. Well, we understand that given the internet cut, well, some consular services are facing difficulty. And the reason is clear, given the situation imposed on us, and the security situation in the country. The organizations in charge have adopted a number of decisions accordingly. So, given the process that's hopefully taken shape, and the situation is improving, so that issue will be resolved. Today, in his meeting with ambassadors, Dr. Al-Akhchi raised the issue, and we're in close contact with embassies and consular sections of different countries, and we're trying to find ways in order to address the issues that are thanks to the disruption in the internet connections. Fars News Agency. Last week we had a visit by Dr. Al-Akhchi to Lebanon. I want to see at this juncture what goal does that visit envisage and what was accomplished. Our relationship with Lebanon has been a significant one and an old one. There are historical, cultural, and civilizational bonds. And politically, there were two major players in the West Asia region. So relations with Lebanon are of the essence to us. And diplomatic and political consultations between the two sides have always been there. And this visit was on the same basis. Probably one difference between this and the previous visit was that the economic aspect was brought in the spotlight further. Well, we have had trade relations with Lebanon, but the trade volume does require further expansion. So with the economic minister of Lebanon, there was a good meeting. And then following that, there was also a meeting with businessmen who were active in the economic relations between Iran and Lebanon. That was also a useful session. There were also meetings held with Prime Minister and President of Lebanon, as well as with the Lebanese Foreign Minister. They were effective and useful. Now, during that visit, also talks were made with a number of outstanding Lebanese figures, which I believe were useful. So our approach as the Islamic Republic of Iran is that with all the components making up the Lebanese society and the Lebanese government, we believe that we should have friendly relations with them all, and we have always emphasized that Lebanese internal issues are their concern. And what matters to us is protecting sovereignty, territorial integrity, and stability of Lebanon. And we understand that as a country that is neighboring an aggressive and occupation regime, Lebanon is in a difficult situation, and we have always been prepared to offer assistance to help improve the situation and prevent escalation of tension in the region, generally speaking, and in Lebanon specifically. And that visit followed the same goal, too. Well, during the recent unrest, one of the responses we received was from Turkish Foreign Minister, Sir Fidan. He referred to the political vigilance of the Iranians, and he said that the Zionist regime wants to destabilize Iran, but they will not succeed. But other countries' stances, what's your evaluation of their posturing? And also countries in the region, when it comes to the recent developments, what approaches did they adopt? Now, countries in the region have been increasingly come to this understanding and conclusion that the Zionist regime is an imminent threat and a persistent one that threatens regional peace and security. Each and every state in the region understand this, that the Zionist regime would not exclude any country or people from its wicked designs. Attacking 7 countries in the, well, let's say, past few months or last year is indicative of the same fact, the continuation of the genocide in Gaza and the plan that it has for disintegrating Muslim states in Somalia and elsewhere in our region. They all demonstrate the fact that the threats from the Zionist regime should be taken seriously, and it is being taken seriously. This is the stance of the Turkish Foreign Minister in opinion polls and also in talks that we have had with countries, officials inside the region, outside of the region. We all share this opinion that the Zionist policies aim only to destabilize countries in the region and make the situation insecure. I mean, the whole West Asia and even North Africa and the Mediterranean. Now, what we should bear in mind is that there are a number of countries that have acted in a duplicitous way when it comes to Iran. It's not the first time it's happening, and they're trying to put to oblivion their stances, their posturings as regards what happened in our region. The genocide, which is still going on in the region. We did not see any stance, even a soft stance, by any European country. But when something happens and is related to Iran, we see the most serious, vehement posturing and stances and distorting the facts because, you know, the lies that they're spreading on some occasions, and they simply try to heap more pressure by way of coercion or threatening Iran. This indicates the duplicitous and dishonest approaches of some of these European countries that, unfortunately, we have witnessed recently. The Lebanese Foreign Minister has stated time and time and again that Hezbollah needs to be disarmed. Tel Aviv announced also that Lebanese efforts when it comes to disarming Hezbollah have not been sufficient. Now, in the last week trip by Mr. Arakchi to Lebanon and his meetings with his Lebanese counterpart, what topics specifically were raised regarding the Hezbollah disarmament? Well, you see, our stance is quite clear. Defending Lebanese territory, Lebanon's defensive strategy is an issue which needs to be decided by the Lebanese within their national dialogue. I mean, there are different elements that make up the Lebanese society. So they need to sit together and speak. Now, we have expressly announced our stances, and we've always said that issues related to protecting Lebanon and the issue of Hezbollah's arms, these are issues that need to be addressed within Lebanese dialogue and without the intervention, destructive intervention of any side. So, if any time they ask us this question, I believe that we have already adopted this fixed stance. As I told you, the people in our region can see very well what's happening. I mean, it's not only Iran's stance or others' stances. Fact of the matter is that the Zionist regime does not stick with any commitment. In the past year, I mean, since November, when they signed the ceasefire deal, see what they have done. Thousands of times they have violated that ceasefire. The guarantors of the treaty that said they were obliged to see this ceasefire implemented, they have shown no practical reaction. America has practically been standing on the side of the aggressor. They've been supportive of the Zionist regime in all their violations. So I believe that these are the facts that one needs to bear in mind regarding the question that you asked. Siyasat Rus, go ahead. Now, regarding some actions that have been directly or indirectly taken by the U.S. and the Zionist regime, does the Foreign Ministry have any plan to legally pursue these in international fora? Well, as I said, there are explicit and open statements made by the Zionist regime and Americans that's actually interfering in Iranian affairs. That has been the basis for documenting the fact that these two players have been actually causing peaceful protests and turning them into violent ones. And the United Nations, our representative there, has recorded this, and also at the level of human rights organizations related to the UN in Geneva. Now, regarding embassies, we have the intersection of the U.S. and Iran, the Swiss embassy. We're just at the beginning. There's so many documents that we're still collecting. We will document them all, and both internally, domestically, and also globally, we will definitely follow up on this issue using our documents. Mr. Bagay, two small questions. Omani foreign minister had a trip to Tehran Saturday. Given Mr. Trump's comments, did he carry any message from Trump? Also, yesterday, the day before yesterday, Elon Musk, owner of Twitter, he also had this interfering action. He removed and changed the flags of some official organizations on Twitter. You're supposed to ask one question. Now, as for the Oman official visit, well, it was already arranged. There are diplomatic shuttles and contacts between Iran and the Sultanate of Oman. They've always been there. And we have had outstanding relations, Tehran and Moscow. So we've always appreciated the role that Oman has played in attempting to help cause peace and stability in the region. We appreciate what Oman has done in the past, and we have always regretted that Oman's efforts, actually, with the betrayal of the U.S. against diplomacy, Oman's efforts came to a halt, unfortunately. Well, there are issues of mutual concern and also issues related to peace and stability in the region that were raised, issues related to Yemen, Somalia, occupied Palestine, and also some other issues that we've always been exchanging views with Oman, Mehr News Agency. Now, given the lapse of more than 10 days since the abduction of the Venezuelan president and the opposition of the international community, Mr. Maduro and his wife are still being held by the U.S. What would be the ramifications of such abduction on the UN, on the rule of law and the UN Charter? Now, prior to this, we were also witness to military intervention by the U.S. in different countries, especially regarding Latin America and the Western Hemisphere in different ways. Now, there was somehow different because there were a number of fundamental issues of international law that were violated, the principle of immunity of the senior officials of countries, violating the territorial integrity and sovereignty of a country, and abducting the head of a state together with his wife. This cannot be justified. The excuses that have been offered under pretext, nobody has accepted that. The majority of members of the International Committee have either condemned this or they've opposed this in different ways. No country that feels responsible, no country that respects the rule of law and feels responsible as a member of the UN, they can never endorse what the U.S. has done. So this abduction is absolutely illegal, and we are standing in unison with all the countries that have stressed the need for the liberation of the Venezuelan president and first lady of that country. So according to the constitution of the country, the responsibility of running the affairs of Venezuela has been transferred to the vice president. And since day one, we supported that. This is a legal process. And hopefully, the Venezuelan officials will succeed in moving ahead with perform their duties regarding their country now. Globally speaking, there have been actions taken by Venezuela in order to show the illegal nature of the U.S. move and also to actually gain the support of more countries against that move. And the repercussions actually will be imposed on the whole international community based on the UN Charter. Concurrently with what's happened in Iran. We have seen the direct shooting at a lady in Minneapolis, then it caused a wave of protests in the U.S. I want to know if there is any logical link between this and focus on protests happening in Iran. Well, I believe that, let's say, it clarifies and exposes the contradiction regarding the stance that Americans have adopted regarding what's happening in Iran. I mean, over there, there is this young lady who is attacked, and the reason is that she did not heed the police warning on time. She was directly shot at and killed. But here, there are some actions taken against police and security forces, and even people on the street. I mean, a large number, a number of our nationals were from the ranks of the general public, and they were shot at from behind or from people along them. So when it comes to events in Iran, you see a contradictory stance. The comparison of both shows how contradictory the words and deeds of some Western sides are. They're not honest, and this is what should be taken into consideration by everyone. Press TV.
Thank you very much, Mr. Spokesman. Word is that the United States has left over 60 international organizations, more than half of which affiliated with the United Nations itself. The question is, how do you think this move can affect the international world order? در خبرها اومده که آمریکا بیش از 60 نهاد و سازمان بین المللی که نیمی از اونها وابسته به سازمان ملل بودن رو ازش خارج شده. این تصمیم به نظر شما چه تأثیری میتونه بر نظام بین المللی داشته باشه؟ خیلی ممنون.
خب خروج آمریکا از
Well, the U.S. withdrawal from 60 plus international organizations and institutions. Well, you know, well, the agreements, many of which we can say that includes many countries. I mean, lots of countries are parts of those agreements, so that means that we are facing a process which is nothing but inattention to international norms. If you take a look at the list of the international organizations that the U.S. has left, you see, for example, International Legal Commission, or at the top of it, or there are mechanisms that have been built in order to counter violence against women, against children, armed clashes, and, you know, there are generally some instances that is going to aim at protecting humanitarian law. When the U.S. leaves and scraps such agreements, that raises the alarm, and it warns the international community that the world today is moving toward what they have called rules-based governance. And the victim is the international norms. And unfortunately, we will face a world which is more than any other time resembling the rule of law. And this is what all the countries need to consider as a source of concern.